Hello, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to End Times Talk. I hope you're all doing well. Um, Lately, we've been talking a lot about, what's happening with this buildup with Iran, between Iran and the U.S. and Israel. The USS Abraham Lincoln is already over there, um, within striking distance of Iran, and the USS Gerald R. Ford is being sent over there. And anytime you have those kinds of vessels heading out, you're always going to have submarines that are beneath the surface that you can't see. They always go with, they always work in unison. I've been told by people that are in the military. And I'm not going to go into in-depth teachings or anything like that on this specific um, thing that I'm bringing up. But way back whence there was a map that was developed, and it's a post World War III map. And this has, I think it's like 13, 14, 15 nations, something like that. Okay. So it doesn't match up with what the word of God says. But this is the oldest version of the map. And if you notice in the box beneath Africa, it says post war New World Map. And that this is their outline of a post war New World Map. And with that being said, then then the Illuminati came out with this version, um, after the Club of Rome had kind of reorganized it. In anyways, this is the same thing that's the Club of Rome map, but just kind of color coded better. It's a little bit easier to see and whatnot, and to able to separate the nations. And so World War III will produce the New World Order, and everybody's like, but the New World Order is already here. I mean, if you listen to the way that the politicians are talking, especially recently, JD Vance. Give me a moment here. I'll try to find the clip. I don't have it right offhand. Give me a moment here. I'll try to pop it up here. Yeah, right here. Hold on. I'm just going to download it. Just give me a moment so that way I can just bring it in. Because I think this is pretty important for us to acknowledge. All right, so give me a second. All right here. Here's the clip where JD Vance is talking about that they're building a new world order.
Happening culturally in Europe, what's their crackdowns on free speech, and they just look less and less like we do.
Yeah.
And there's a real question about whether there's a massive shift happening now in terms of world alliances long term.
Well, there's definitely, I think, a new world order. I think the president has sought to it. There's a new world order in trade. There's a new world order in globalization.
A new world order in globalization. Okay.
And the way that we invest in our economy versus, foreign supply chains. There's a new world order, and the president is willing to shake up some old alliance structures. I mean, NATO, I think, is much different because of the president's.
So so the president's willing to shake up some old alliance power structures. Okay. And that means he's going to put his nose in where it don't belong for the sake of globalists. Okay. That's what he's saying. This is him. This is him telling you this.
Leadership than it was 10 years ago. It was sort of coasting. It was effectively a protectorate of the United States of America. Obviously, you saw what happened in Venezuela. So, yeah, the president is putting a stamp on world history, but fundamentally in an America First way.
So it's fundamentally in an America First way, their version of a new world order. All right. And so with what the Illuminati have planned in the past, a post World War III new world map that eventually blended into this, you can see very clearly that, Donald Trump is working very hard at making this thing plausible, by saying Greenland, we need Greenland. Canada is willing to join America. I've seen Canadians willing to become, a part of America. And then Donald Trump telling people in Mexico to get the cartels under control or we will put boots on the ground. And then this peace plan, it's only with the Middle East. It's only with Kingdom 7, what you're looking at, Kingdom 7. And then the thing with Venezuela in Kingdom 6, that whole left-hand side of South America in the yellow. All right, if you look at the bigger chunk of Kingdom 6 in the dark yellow, that whole left-hand side is already in alignment. Okay, they just need Colombia and a few others. Now they have Venezuela, and then Brazil is going to make that decision. Once you have everybody that surrounds Brazil, in cahoots, then Brazil make that decision. So Kingdom 1 isn't far off at all because of the Declaration of North America that was signed under Joe Biden. All they need really is Greenland. It's already a thing. All right, the trade agreement started it, and they're finishing it now. Number 6 is forming rather quickly. Number 7 is forming rather quickly. Number 8 is basically already formed. Number 2, it isn't going to take much for that to get to where it needs to be. All that they have to have is Poland leave, which Poland is pissed off at the EU. And Poland even wiped their, the leader of Poland wiped his feet on the EU flag. And so that's a thing. And then they're talking about, going to war with Russia, with the Ukraine. And so eventually the Ukraine and Poland will be absorbed by Russia in this map. China, as it sits, is already one of them. Kingdom 9 has begun moving forward it's been 25 years since they've moved forward. And they just conscripted another nation into that kingdom. All right, there's already instability between India and Pakistan and Thailand and Cambodia. All right, and so, there's a lot that's happening, and it's happening really quickly. All right, the furthest off is probably Kingdom 4. And I don't think Kingdom 3 is that far off either. So really, this isn't going to take much to make this happen. Now, again, this is a post-war New World map. But this is the actual map they're using now, not this one that they originally made. All right. And JD Vance is telling you it's a new world order that's coming. All right. So with that being said, again, like I said, a million different times. All right. That Albert Pike's 3 World Wars letter. I'm not going to read the thing because I've taught this many times on my channel. Basically, click on any video and I'll go over this in my live section. All right, but they want war in the Middle East. They want the rest of the world to be divided on what side of that war that they're on, whether they're pro-Jew, whether they're pro-Muslim. All right, and then they're going to cause everybody else in the war to fight. Then they're going to unleash the nihilists and the atheists and the Antifa and the LGBTQ and the BLM and all the racists, the Aryan Brotherhood and all the, probably the new Black Panther Party as well. They control it all at the top. The protesters, ICE, all of it, it's all controlled at the top. And there's going to be this giant clash that's going to take place globally, all across the board, not just in America. It's going to be everywhere. It's already beginning. It's already happening, a slow incrementation. And then they want the citizens of the world to rise up against this force and exterminate them. All right. And then through that extermination, they want to turn on those people that did the exterminating like a junkyard dog. And in doing so, they'll bring about the destruction of Christianity and atheism because they don't want atheists around because they can't believe in a Luciferian one world order. So, with that being said, this is the Illuminati plan, and they are following it to a T. I want to share something with you. Hold on one second. All right, hold on. Give me a second here. I'm trying to find this. All right, hold on. Coming back to you. So David Spangler, who worked for the United Nations, says, and this is a quote here, no one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. All right. So this world order that's coming a 10 kingdom order is going to be Luciferian. All right. And in this, they talk about bringing Luciferianism out into the open. The universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer brought finally out into the public view. And we know it's going to be a Luciferian New World Order. All right. And we know that the administration is working towards this New World Order. The United Nations is working towards this New World Order. And there's many facets in the way that they're trying to bring this about. One is World War III, and another one is the alien deception that's coming, and the emergence of a one world ruler, the world teacher. We can call him a million different names, but he's the biblical Antichrist. All right, but it'll be, I think World War III is getting ready to kick off. And I think if we can go to, give me a second here. I'm trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. If we look at this picture, it's a soccer ball getting kicked off in 2026. This looks like World War III to me. It looks pretty chaotic. All right, it looks like chaos. And we know out of order or out of chaos, they bring forth their order. Order ab chaos, order out of chaos. All right, so this is the kickoff, everybody. We're in it now. You know, we're seeing it brew. And then Donald Trump brings in 18 executive orders and 11 Department of Defense initiatives already. And there's not even anything really happening for him to be doing those things. Are those preemptive executive orders and Department of Defense initiatives that are being set up? I think absolutely. I really do. I think absolutely that's a thing. So, I mean, we could tie all this in together, but, you know, let's look at this where we have, you know, like I said, the USS Abraham Lincoln, the USS Gerald R. Ford making their way towards Iran. Then we have, obviously, the submarines that move with them. And then Russia and China are doing war game scenarios right now as we speak with Iran. And they've already showed up in the Iran area. And so the United States is there, Russia's there, China's there, Iran is there, Israel is there. I mean, this is exactly what the Albert Pike 3 World Wars document is talking about right here. And then what's happening on the home front, all right, here in America. Okay, so there's a lot of different angles. Now, a new angle to this is this. Now, there are Shia Muslims that are in Iraq that are going to get involved. And it's being reported that a shadowy Iraqi Shia militia, Saraya Awaliya al-Dam, which means Guardians of the Blood Brigades, just stepped out of the dark. The group released footage showcasing what it claims is a hidden underground drone base, signaling it's not just rhetoric, it's capability. Even more explosive, they openly vowed to back Iran military if conflict erupts with the United States. For years, this faction operated in the background. Now they're broadcasting infrastructure, hardware, and intent. Underground launch sites, cross-border alliances, and public declarations. All right, so things are heating up.
وعدنا وعهدنا مع قادتنا والشهداء الصديقين. نحن في سرايا أولياء الدم نعلن جهوزيتنا التامة للدفاع عن العراق ومقدساته وسيادته، وعن مراجعنا العظام وبيضة الإسلام والمذهب الشيعي. فإننا نؤكد موقفنا الثابت والداعم للجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية كعبة أمل المستضعفين.
العالم جيد والناس تمام والإدارة عنده وأجهزة مخابراته.
So I think you get the picture because it's just this, you know, this amount right here, obviously. But my point is that there are multiple facets starting to come together to say that they're going to back Iran. These are obviously the Iranian proxies and tentacles that Iran has had in the region for a long time. Now, here's the thing that I recognize this last scuffle that really got big between Israel, Iran, and Hezbollah and Gaza, this is some of the same type of stuff that was coming out that leads me to believe that something credible is about to happen. And not to mention the pizza index with you know, with what do you call it? The Pentagon, where, you know, when things heat up with the Pentagon, there's lots of pizzas that get ordered because that's, you know, there's a situation brewing and no one's allowed to leave. And so they order out, they get takeout food and they have it delivered to the Pentagon, or they have someone from the Pentagon go out and get all this food and bring it back to the Pentagon so people can eat because they have to focus. All right. And even just yesterday, the pizza index went through the roof. All right. And so I really do believe there's some credibility behind all of this. Do we know exactly when it's going to happen? No, we don't. But what I can tell you is that Donald Trump said within about the next 10 days, we're going to know what's going on. Now, there's things that he said before, like, you know, to the Iranian protesters, told them to keep protesting. Help is on the way, and help never arrived. You know, and I'll tell you right now, with everything that's brewing right now, the Iranian protesters are back out in mass in Iran. You know, and the people in Iran, you know, on the ground, you know, the church in Iran and all this stuff, you know, they have begged for help time and time again, and they even told Israel and in America, please invade us, do what you need to do, you know, through the air. And they said that we'll do what we need to do on the ground. Like, there are people ready to join into this fight. And it's about to get nasty, I believe. Now, here's the thing. In Trump's first term, like I talked about yesterday, or it was the day before, I can't remember which, so many videos. He made moves towards making sure the draft is fully functional. And I do believe that there will be a draft. They want depopulation. They want assets to be busy. And this is going to open up the homeland for attack. And I do believe that an October 7th style event will happen in America. And, you know, I can understand if that scares people and whatnot, but I would rather God's people be educated and be aware of what could happen, what possibly can happen, than thinking that they're untouchable. Here in America, we know that God will protect us. We know that He's our shelter in the storm. You know, Jesus is an amazing King to be serving, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But, you know, we're in a tough situation. It's very difficult right now. And so, with that being said, okay, and like I said, you know, they want a new world order. They got this post-World War map that, you know, World War III map that they put out there a long time ago that eventually shape-shifted into this. All right. And they're talking about a Luciferian new world order, which is a new age. Okay. And that's why I definitely believe that this whole idea of Maitreya, you know, Benjamin Creme, Share International, Maitreya, I've talked about it a million times. I'm not going to get deep into it. I have other teachings on it on my channel that you can find, but it's going to be a Muslim man, I think, that emerges and then turns his back on Islam, so to speak, and then wants to merge all world religions and create this new religion. And then it's really kind of the foundation of it is New Age. But they want people to take a Luciferian initiation to be able to come into the New World Order. All right. And so I think it absolutely aligns with Albert Pike's 3 World Wars document. I think it aligns with what The Economist is telling us. I think it aligns with what we're seeing play out in the Middle East right now and what the things that are ratcheting and building up to take place. All right. So on top of that, though, we know that World War III will produce Antichrist. Like my buddy who was ex-Illuminati, who became a Christian and dedicated his life to telling everybody what he was taught in the Order of the Illuminati. And what was interesting about his life is that he wasn't a person that joined the Illuminati. He was someone who was born into the Illuminati. And he was born into the Marquis bloodline, the Marquis household. His name is Joseph Marquis, but we call him Doc. That's the nickname he went by because he was a doctor in the military. And, you know, at the age of 3, he was dedicated to the cause of Lucifer. At the age of 13, he was inscribed into the book of the Illuminati's Book of the Dead. And then he graduated a 3rd degree Illuminati witch. And then at the age of 18, he was sent out to the U.S. Army base Fort Lewis in Washington State to infiltrate, to establish a fully operative coven, so that way he could compromise high-level military officials, and that whatever those high-level military officials had access to, the Illuminati now had access to. All right, and they were really good at what they did. They achieved their objective, and in that year that Illuminati class went out and joined the different branches of the military, it was that around that year, the year or two after that, where they actually made it legal for like satanic chaplains and things like that. Before that, it was like Catholic chaplains, Protestant chaplains, pastors that were able to minister to the soldiers. But then it became eventually that they accepted all these world religions, and it became a thing. And actually, anybody who knows that's been a part of Fort Lewis, that it's actually one of the most active occult military bases on the planet. It really is. It's very much so inundated with the occult. But he actually, at that time when he was at Fort Lewis, he had a Christian say and come up to him and ask him, "Do you want to go to church with me?" And he said, in so many words, he told him no. And, so we'll keep it PG there. But he said that for the next 3 years of his life, he had Christians literally, like, he was kind of joking around, but he said they were falling out of moving cars and jumping out of trees at him. And he said every corner that he turned around, he had a Christian trying to witness to him. And he said he finally understood what he was doing. And see, that's why it's so important to evangelize people. So important to evangelize. But he said he finally saw what he was doing in the order of the Illuminati in light of what the Bible was saying. And then he ended up, going to Southern Baptist University and graduating with a master's degree. And he became a teacher. And he said, "I walked into church that day." He says, "I walked out a sold out slave of Satan," but he says, "I walked out a born again child of the King." And I'll tell you right now, what was interesting about it was that he dedicated his life to exposing this stuff. And what he told me personally is he says, "I did many horrible things when I was in the order of the Illuminati that I regret so badly." And he says he knew he wasn't saved by his works. He knew it, but he says, "Me exposing the Illuminati and doing what I'm doing is my way of trying to make up for the things that I've done in trying to lead a new life." And boy, oh boy, do I respect that. And he eventually was killed. And they got him. They murdered him. I believe they poisoned him. He died. I think it was 2017 or 2018. And I think it was 2017. And, he was, we had many phone conversations over a 10-year period. We were very close friends, and he taught me everything that he knew from the ground up. He spent 10 years just taking the time to teach some 20-something-year-old punk that, barely had his head screwed on straight. And he gave me structure and helped me to understand what's going on in the world. And I'll tell you, something he told me that always resonates with me is he says World War III will produce Antichrist. Listen, that's how close we are. He says World War III will produce Antichrist. So if that produces Antichrist, the 10 kingdoms are going to form as well. And I think they'll form quickly. And as soon as those 10 kingdoms are formed, as soon as they pop those things into place, as soon as World War III happens and they have this destabilization, wham, the Antichrist is going to appear. That 11th horn is going to rise up out of the 10 little horns that represent 10 kings overseeing 10 kingdoms. And he's going to speak great and blasphemous things against the host of heaven. All right, that's what I believe. And I believe that before that happens, before the Antichrist arises, we will be gone as Christians. That's how close I think it is. It might be a 100-year generation, but it could be only one of the next 20. We could be going home next year or this year even. That's how fast that this is taking place. Now, I'm telling you right now, whether you believe me or not, and I really hope people are paying attention and listening to what I'm saying, I have high-level intelligence sources that I know through other people that I'm getting word that 2027 is the year. And I said this yesterday, and I'm going to continue to say it, that 2027 is the year. I think that it could start this year, but 2027 is where it really gets bad. All right. And so at any point in time now, we could go home. Any point in time. All right. Because we know World War III produces Antichrist. And my brother Doc Marquis told me, he says that virtually the Antichrist will be unknown, and overnight he will arise to power, and the world will clamor to hear him speak, and they're going to give him a platform. All right, they're going to give him a platform. All right, and so my point is that not only is World War III, we're right at the cusp of it, and all the evidence for it is there. I've already shown you the documents where, you know, they've talked about, you know, what Trump is doing, and he's doing things that have been done during other times of massive campaigns of military action. And I'm talking like World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, you know, after 9/11 and all that stuff. Okay. All right. So it's very indicative of that something big is coming, you know, with the pizza index, everything I've shown you this morning. I really think we're on the verge of actual World War III. They've been talking about it for a long time. When the Ukraine-Russia war kicked off, I remember they said, oh, this is World War III. But I've shown you where World War III will start and where the Illuminati tells you that it's going to start. All right. I've shown you those things. All right. And so with that being said, though, on the other side of the coin, all right, we have a false flag alien invasion that is coming. And so I think it's important that we go over a couple of things, because a long time ago, back in the day, and he was part of the Bohemian Grove, he was privy to the knowledge of what was going on. All right. And hold on, I guess I'll take care of it. So here's the thing. Okay. My point is, all right, is that give me a second here. So he was part of the Bohemian Grove, heavily involved in the Bohemian Grove. All right. But Ronald Reagan, all right, said this at a United Nations meeting.
Unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
So, dude's literally telling you that you know, he's basically, you know, letting it slip, you know, that they're planning for an alien threat. In light of that, because I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, that the alien deception really began back in the late 1940s, when you had Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard do that ritual. And I'm not going to go deep into it. Babylon working, the ritual Babylon working in the Mojave Desert, and people who were there who saw this series of rituals take place that were with them said that they opened up a portal, they opened up a hole, and things came pouring into our plane of existence, demonic entities. All right. And after this is where you had Kenneth Arnold that started to see UFOs, and the UFOs started to be seen. And anybody who knows about the Monument Men, excuse me, the Monument Men, all right, the Monument Men's goal in Nazi Germany was to go get all this different artwork from all over the world. And they had high-end Nazi artists go in and alter artwork to be able to make people think that the alien agenda goes all the way back. Yeah, there's an alien agenda, all right, but it's demonic. And the demonic have always been around, and the fallen angels have been around even before mankind, because Lucifer was already in the Garden of Eden when you know, Adam and Eve were there. But before they were even there, they were created. Then they were in the Garden of Eden. Lucifer was already in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He tempted Eve, so on and so forth. Okay, so fallen angels, demons, always been around. But I can even show you this real quick before I move forward. Give me a second. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get this quote here. All right, hold on. Coming back to you. Hold on. So even Aleister Crowley, who is a high-level Satanist and who created the religion Thelema, and he counseled all sorts of high-end people that were in power. He said today they call them angels and demons, like, back in the day, like, all throughout ancient times, they call them angels and demons. He says tomorrow they will call them something else. And you cannot deny Aleister Crowley's drawing Lamb, who is an entity that he channeled during a ritual known as the Amalantra working inside one of the Great Pyramids during his honeymoon. All right. What kind of power do you have to take your honeymoon inside the Great Pyramid in Egypt? Okay. They don't even let you climb that thing, let alone go inside of it for your honeymoon. Okay. And he channeled Lamb, but there's also another entity he channeled called Ewas, and both of these characters are very similar to a gray alien, what we see as the gray alien. Okay, but again, they call them angels and demons today, and tomorrow they will call them something else. All right, and I believe that's what we know as aliens. Okay, the gray aliens. Now, with that being said, okay, I want you to understand that during that time that Jack Parsons did the Babylon working in the Mojave Desert, Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich, which was under the supervision of the actual core of Nazism, which was the Vril Society and the Thule Society, they were channeling entities that were giving them an acceleration of information, and they were trying to merge black magic with technology. All right. And it was the Nazi scientists in the Third Reich that really started creating rocketry and the UFO flying saucers. Okay. Getting things ready for this alien deception that is to come. And if you notice, Jack Parsons was also a rocket scientist. He also was getting an acceleration of information for being in contact with these entities and doing this high-end ritual magic. Yeah, and magic with the K. All right, now, Werner von Braun was one of these Nazi scientists that was brought into America under Operation Paperclip, okay? And first, the UFO stuff and the rocket stuff ended up in NASA for a short period of time, and then they actually, got it transferred to Avron and DARPA. DARPA was a subsidiary of Avron. Okay, and then what was interesting is right after that, they transferred it back to NASA, and then they went and they put it into the military-industrial complex in order to house it, and kind of keep it at bay so the public wouldn't find out about it. But Werner von Braun's secretary came out publicly and stated this.
And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. A lie. I think I was too naive to know at that time the seriousness of the nature of the spin that was being put on the system. And now the pieces are starting to fall into place. We're building a space-based weapon system based on...
And they also built a space branch of the military. Donald Trump put that into place, just like he's putting a lot of things into place.
On a premise that is a lie, a spin. And Werner von Braun was trying to hint that to me back in the early 70s and right up until the moment when he died in 1977. What he told me is that there's an accelerated effort in place. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine.
Yep.
That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late.
And it already is. We saw Russia use it against the Ukraine. You remember those things that came down from the sky that they hit the Ukraine with? There already is space-based weaponry. Elon Musk is at the helm of that now. The U.S. government has already given him the government contracts to be able to do it. He's already, I mean, they talk about how each Starlink satellite has Project Bluebeam attached to it. Project Bluebeam technology. Give me a second here. I'm gonna show you something here. Give me a moment here. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I'm hoping I can find it. Yeah, right here. Perfect. So this is really interesting. Okay, hold on. Give me a second here. I'm busting out some stuff. Okay, here we go. All right. All right, so, well, why isn't that showing up? Give me a second here, everybody. Hold on. Hold on. Let me just do this. All right, let's do this here. I'm going to have to screenshot this because it's being stupid. All right, hold on here. So this is an actual Illuminati card called Killer Satellite. All right. So even in the Illuminati card game, they talk about the space-based weaponry. All right. Now let's go further here, and I'll show you this. Then they have this one called Power Satellite. Now hold on. Then they have. Hold on, I'm trying to find it here. It's got to load up. Hold on. Whoops. I'm just going to download it anyways. It's going to be a little blurry when I bring it in, but you'll get the idea. All right. They even have Spy Satellite. So there's multiple cards showing the weaponry that they have in outer space. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of different angles to this thing, even in the Illuminati card game that they're talking about. All right. Where they're talking about space-based weaponry. We saw Russia use this, all this stuff. All right. Now, all right, there's Project Bluebeam that they've been using for a long time. All right. And I have a clip, but if I show it, they hit me with the copyright strike every time I show it. Oh, man, it never fails. But it's a video of a man reading a memoir from a Men in Black agent named Joseph Smith, who left a memoir on his deathbed. He talked about how he was a part of the group that killed William Cooper. He talked about, all this different stuff that lines up, man. And it's pretty mind-blowing. And he even predicted the COVID-19 pandemic in this memoir. And he was only, I think it was a year or two off. He said it would happen in 2017, and it happened in 2019. And he said the final push would be, a false flag alien invasion. Okay, and I have the footage from this. I'm telling you, this is 100% real. And what was interesting is in this he talked about being taken into a hangar in Colorado, where he saw a black stealth, one of the stealth fighters that they have in the military that was in this hangar, and it was just floating in the air. And it was high up above where his head was, obviously. But he was told that was a Project Bluebeam hologram, that it wasn't even really there. And he said it was almost like you could reach out and touch this thing. All right. Like you could reach out and touch this thing. And then he began to talk about how the Phoenix Lights event was the first Project Bluebeam test that they did on the public. Now listen to me, and I'm telling you the truth here. Have you noticed how when they do this Aurora Borealis that people have been, yeah, thank you, Darth Ego. Darth Ego's in the know, man. I like Darth Ego. That's why he's a moderator. I like you, man. But yeah, no, so when they have this Aurora Borealis where the colors are like blue and pink and all this mumbo jumbo, yeah, I think it can be HAARP, but I also think they're using Project Bluebeam as well. They can project it in certain areas where maybe HAARP isn't able to touch, and they're able to see how far they can get this thing to stretch. They're able to see how far their grasp of power is to be able to project something, okay, where to make people believe there's something in the sky. All right, and I'm going to tell you word for word what my buddy that was Illuminati that became a Christian, Doc Marquis, told me personally over the phone. And this is what he told me, okay? And I'm gonna have to focus and pay attention here. And so I'm not even looking at the screen. I want to focus on this story here. So he told me, and he said, imagine yourself, Josh. You know, and obviously this is be for the left behind because, actually, let me say this real quick. The reason why the alien agenda is even a thing, the reason why they started developing UFO technology in Nazi Germany after Babylon working that happened in the Mojave Desert and all that mumbo jumbo, all right, is because, and they dumped quadrillions, and I mean quadrillions of dollars into these projects, the manipulation of human genetics to be able to create a bodysuit for the Nephilim spirits to possess, to be able to pull off this alien agenda, and then also create the UFO technology, but make people think the crap was crashing here and that they're actually reverse engineering it so that way they can promote the alien agenda, that there's beings from outside space. Jacques Vallée even talked about how there's no traffic. We would sense the traffic. There's nothing on radar coming to and from the earth. We would have that on record, okay? It's because these beings are interdimensional and they've always been here, all right? Like, let me show you something. I know I'm getting off track, but, I got to flow with what I feel the Holy Spirit is showing me to tell you guys. Now, hold on. We're going somewhere. Let's go down the rabbit hole together. Hold on. Actually, no, I'll just talk about it. So in the beginning of the movie War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg version of War of the Worlds with Dakota Fanning and Tom Cruise and all that, okay, in the beginning of it, Morgan Freeman is doing the narration, and he's talking about how these beings have been watching us. They've been analyzing us for thousands of years. They've been preparing this great deception to take place for thousands of years. Okay, they've had 6,000 years to practice this and to get things right. And they've screwed it up in the past with different civilizations. And when they screwed it up so bad, they had to wipe out the civilization. That's why there's some Indian tribes that don't exist now, that they just all of a sudden vanished. All right, same with like the Aztecs and whatnot, and the Mayans just vanished. All right, because they were worshiping these entities. All right, and so they didn't want, dead men leave no tails, right? Dead men leave no tails, right? You've heard that saying. And man, I'm getting so far down the rabbit hole. I'm having trouble focusing here. So Doc Marquis told me this story. All right. And it's a true story. It's what's coming. This is exactly what's coming, because this comes from someone who was in the Illuminati. He was taught this in the Order of the Illuminati. He was born into the Illuminati in the Marquis bloodline. He actually believed that he was one of the bastard children of one of the Rothschilds. Okay, so let me give you this inside scoop that what he told me over the phone. This must have been back in 2012, 2013 that this took place. And he told me, he said, imagine yourself, Josh, if you were to get left behind, this is obviously in hypothesis of if you were to be left behind. He said, imagine yourself sitting on your couch and across your television or your computer or your cell phone, really well-crafted CGI images or AI images, because AI is going to work with it now, of really well-crafted visuals of motherships approaching Earth on radar. He said you can go outside, you can look up, but because supposedly they're so far out there and they're approaching Earth, you're not going to see them. And he said what's going to happen is they're going to, all these created UFOs, and just putting this out there under Nazi Germany, they created the Haunebu 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 4 different models of the Haunebu. There's the Vril flying saucer. There's the Horton Ho. There's the De Glock. Okay, and the De Glock was the first one that could vertically lift off. I actually could show you footage of the Haunebu, and this is original footage. This was from a long time ago. This has been around for a long time before AI was ever even a thing. So don't give me that AI mumbo jumbo. And in the slowed down version, once it's stabilized, you can see the propulsion underneath it. And so I'll play this as I'm talking, but Doc Marti told me that UFOs that they've created in Nazi Germany would start to take off from and what they brought into America under Operation Paperclip and have modified and created and made better. Okay, they would actually start taking off from military bases. Here we go. Here's the stabilized. Look at right here. Look at underneath it. Underneath it, you can see the shifting. Look at that. The stuff coming off the bottom. All right, and that's a Haunebu. That's a Haunebu model. All right, and then I'm going to play this while I'm talking, and I'm going to mute it.
Research Center, a continuation test program.
I can't mute it. I'll play it afterwards. But they're going to have these models take off from deep underground military bases all over the world. All right, they don't have enough to fill the sky, and this is where Project Bluebeam is going to come in. And Project Bluebeam will begin to cast big, huge, giant motherships that you see in like the movies and stuff, things like, Arrival and Independence Day and all this stuff, and they're going to make you think that this stuff is in the sky. Men's hearts will fill them for fear of what's coming upon the earth, okay? And then he said that these UFOs, the real ones, are going to take off from the deep underground military bases, and he says they're going to start landing in capitals all over the world. He said it's not going to be a false flag alien invasion. He told me it's going to be a false flag alien visitation. And he said it's for one purpose and one purpose alone, to deceive mankind. And he said that the entities that they've created in labs in the deep underground military bases, which I can give you a story about one that he went to when he had Illuminati clearance in Germany, when he was stationed at an American military base in Germany. But he said that they are creating the gray aliens using human genetics. And I'm telling you, if they can manipulate and make clones and all that stuff, all this is possible, what I'm telling you, okay? And he said they create these biological suits for these demons, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, to possess, to be able to act out this false flag alien agenda. It's purely demonic. It is demonic. It is demonic. And he said these beings will come out of these spaceships, all right? And he says they're going to want to speak to world leaders, and they're going to make a big deal out of it, all right? And this will be after World War III. This will be after the pre-tribulation rapture takes place. This will probably be what ends World War III. All right, in the chaos of World War III is when this will happen. Ooh, I feel the Holy Spirit goosebumps right now. I'm telling you, they're going to come out and they're going to tell mankind, we took the Christians off the planet to re-educate them. They are in our motherships up above. We are re-educating them right now. And when they can be integrated into the new age, the new eon, the age of Aquarius, the golden age, we will bring them back down, and you can have them once again, and they will fully integrate into society. But what they're not telling you is we've been taken by our Lord Jesus Christ. And there's all sorts of religions all over the planet, and I've already talked to you about it time and time again on my channel, how they're planning a mass disappearance of people, and every religion knows about it. The Muslims know about it. The New Agers know about it. The Wiccans know about it. The pagans know about it. The neo-pagans know about it. The Hindus know about it. The Buddhists know about it. They're all expecting a mass disappearance of Christians, and I have read the documentation to you of what they're saying in their own religions, and how they're saying to expect a mass disappearance of Christians off the planet. And he says that they're going to play on mankind's pride, these beings, and they're going to say, but you, mankind, are the truly enlightened ones, just like Lucifer lied to Eve in the Garden of Eden. And he says, ye shall be as gods. He said that the aliens are going to tell them, we're here to help you ascend to a godlike status. And then they're going to say, this man over here, this world teacher that you got over here, this man that's come out of 10 kings, that's merging out of 10 kings, out of 10 kingdoms. This is your man. This is the one that's going to lead you. And they're going to promote the Antichrist. And then he's going to throw the pedophiles all in jail. And you're already starting to see all the pedophiles getting arrested and stuff. And the Epstein files. And it's all coming to pass. And it's coming to pass fast. There ain't a lot of time left. Just because I talk about a 100-year generation doesn't mean we're going to be 20 years into that generation. And all we got to do is tack on 20 years to an 80-year generation. And all it's got to be is 6 months into the 20 years and the rapture can happen. And it could happen today. It could happen tomorrow. I don't know what everybody's so bent out of shape about. I'm telling you, this is coming. Yeah, it's absolutely like the movie V. Doc Marquis used to talk about the movie V, or the TV show V. Or 5, or whatever you want to call it. I'm telling you, it's all there. The proof is in the pudding, and it's happening all at once. World War III is going to give way, and it's going to begin to happen during World War III. I don't know if it's in the beginning or in the middle or towards the end, but we won't see the end of World War III. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. I promise you. I promise you. You want to know what? I'll eat my hat if we're not at home in the pre-tribulation rapture before the end of World War III. And I'll actually eat my hat. I'll cut it up into small pieces, and I will chew it, and I will eat part of my hat. If we are not home by the end of World War III, when they call for the end of World War III, and the sudden peace is upon us, and then sudden destruction come, I promise you, we will be home in the pre-tribulation rapture before the end of World War III. Because at the end of World War III, Antichrist emerges, and we can't be here for that, because that is when the first seal is broken and the white rider rides. Okay? And that's when the first judgment of God, which is the Lamb, Jesus is God come in the flesh. Okay? And the Lamb, when he breaks that seal, the Lamb that was worthy, Jesus Christ, breaks that first seal. That's when the Antichrist is released upon the earth to do what he's going to do and start deceiving mankind. We cannot be here for that. That's how I know what I'm telling you is the truth. And if World War III produces Antichrist, that's all the proof you need right there. That's how close we are. And if we're on the brink of World War III right now, and I'm not talking a bunch of little nations scuffling, Russia, Ukraine, India, Pakistan, Venezuela and America, and all these different little things that have been happening. I'm talking when it all begins to cut loose and the dam breaks and the flood is rushing at the world. I'm telling you, before the end of World War III, we will be home. I can't tell you how much of World War III we will see. We could see just the very beginning of it. All right. And God might stop it, because if he doesn't stop it right in its tracks, mankind's going to destroy themselves. So it can't be a super long time, because they'll unleash the nukes this time. Mark my words. They will. So this thing is going to happen, and it's going to happen fast. Sorry, I got to get a drink. So my point is, all right, is that it's obvious we're entering into something big here. We're on the cusp of Agenda 2030 as well, everybody. What more do you need to know? I mean, I feel on fire today. I feel the Holy Spirit today. I got up this morning and I set my feet on the ground, and before I did anything else, I thanked God for breath in my lungs. And I thank God for another day. I thank God for another day that I can talk to all of you. And I thank God for just the ability to be able to be here speaking to you today. And I ask God to give me the words to say, and it feels like it's just flowing out of me today. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm sweating. I gotta take showers and baths after I get done going live, because I am passionate about what I do. I am so passionate about what I do here. And I wouldn't have this any other way than to be here talking to you right now about what's to come. And I can almost bet you my bottom dollar that this is the way I've said it today is exactly how it's going to unfold. I'm telling you. I think it's going to be a tough war, because, yeah, you know what, Banshee, I agree, because the thing is Iran is backed by China and Russia. Russia's a bigger nation than America, whether you want to believe it or not. They have more landmass, absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes to China, they got population. 200 million man army. is what it talks about in the Bible, the kings of the East. Or was it a 2 million man army? One or the other. I don't know. Forget some things more than what I know. Anyways, my point is that I believe World War III will produce Antichrist. And if World War III produces Antichrist, and the aliens are going to help promote the Antichrist and lead mankind into their new age deception, into this age of Aquarius that's coming, then it's all going to happen at once. Then it's all going to happen at once. And it's getting ready to kick off. And I mean, like I've showed you before in documentation, here's the precursor to it right here, the Third World War. It's happening exactly as they wrote out in 1871. They stick with their old documents because they want their self-fulfilling prophecies. They want their self-fulfilling prophecies. They want to be right. Manly P. Hall, Albert Pike, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, the whole stinking, rotten, evil lot of them want to be right. And they want their self-fulfilling prophecies to be right. And so it's one of those situations. It's not getting any better until we go home. And my goal is to strengthen people mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and encourage you. I got to tell you the rough stuff. Yes, I got to tell you the things that are going on. It's not easy right now. It's not easy. But I'm going to tell you right now, the truth is, is that we have a hope in Jesus Christ. But I want to help people get to the finish line. I want people to know what's coming so they don't give up prematurely. That's what I want to do. I want to get people to the finish line. And I'm talking the pre-tribulation rapture. Now, with that being said, just recently, Obama's on a radio show, and he said this, and then what Trump said afterwards is very interesting. Listen to what Obama said.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you...
So, I mean, I think that tells you everything. They're either not telling the President of the United States. He knows the aliens are real because the demons are real. It's not hard to know that. All right, but he's literally saying, that they're not in some underground military base. And I beg to differ. But maybe he's not privy to that knowledge because that's all about compartmentalization. Security is in layers with the military. I've known plenty of people in the military, and security is always in layers. But what is the real kicker about what Obama said is what Trump said next.
Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake.
So with that being said, all right, and obviously they're going to want to distract from the Epstein files. Donald Trump put out this tweet. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomenon, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting, important matters. All right, and so what's crazy is they're preparing you for the deception. They're preparing you for the deception. They're preparing you for the deception. It's coming. Right at the same time World War III is brewing, the alien deception is brewing. It's happening. It's happening right before us. All right? It's going down, everybody. Like, we're in it. I don't know. This reminds me of that movie, The Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, when Captain Mimosa, or I don't know his name, where he was talking to William Turner, and he says, or he's talking to the girl or whatever, and he says, do you believe in nightmares? He says, because you're in one. He says, you better believe in nightmares because you're in one. And we obviously have Jesus, so we don't have to fear the things coming, but this is an absolute chaotic, intense nightmare that's brewing right now. And I mean, like if the Bible tells you men's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming upon the earth, you probably should take the Bible seriously and think that, the things that are coming upon the earth are going to be stinking gnarly. I mean, out of control, out of this world. Literally, not literally, because nothing's out of this world. We're the center of it. But they're trying to cover up for the pedophiles as well. I mean, everybody's scrambling when it comes to this Epstein Files stuff. Everybody's scrambling, like the women on The View or the hags on The View, the witches on The View, whatever. They're scrambling because a couple of them have been named in the Epstein Files. Listen to this. It's kind of funny to watch them squirm.
On the list because we were at a party or a wedding or something that somebody might have been. That's what I found out anyway.
Yeah, no,
I was at Trump's wedding to Marla.
Right.
Maybe Epstein was there too. Who knows?
I don't know.
So that means that I'm not guilty, obviously, but these other ones, how are you going to decide who's really guilty and who's not?
I think
very tricky.
I think it's very clear because if you look, you know why my name is there. Because someone was looking for a plane, and that's what people do. They go to all the people who have private planes and say, do you have one?
And you didn't get on the plane.
I didn't get on the plane. I didn't know they were looking for a plane.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the plane that I was supposed to be on was no longer available. So I'm named in there like Whoopi Goldberg needs a plane.
But there are a lot of people that are
Marilyn Monroe was on the list.
Yes.
There were plenty of people there are
Elvis
plenty of people
also.
named in the list that may have not done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that there are a lot of people that are on that list that are guilty of wrongdoing. And I have no confidence, unfortunately. It gives me no pleasure to say this. But I don't have any confidence.
Let me say it like this. I think that they are going to, hold on, Joy. I think they are going to. They're going to do it like, how you eat around an apple till you get to the core.
Yes.
I think that's how they're going to do it. They're
This
going to
Justice
eat all the
Department,
stuff
I don't have confidence.
all around here, and then they're going to get, hopefully, then they'll get to the core.
They are squirming. They're squirming. They're so uncomfortable that they've been named in this, that people would find them out. It's hilarious to me because they all talk so haughty and proud before, like they weren't involved with it, like they had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? I don't know. It blows my mind. All right, so I'm gonna put this out there, and I gotta give you a warning that there is a cuss word in this, but Leslie Wexner finally is getting with the program, and he faced his deposition. I do have the entire deposition in my possession. I downloaded a copy of it, and I will be going through it with a fine-tooth comb because I have to for a lot of different reasons. But I haven't done that yet. But there is this clip that I did find, and I'm gonna kind of show you a couple of parts of it because it's a little bit long. But then I'm gonna skip to the end because I want you to hear something that's said. But I'll just play this here.
I think that I'm giving you a long answer, but to understand it
he says we're giving you a long answer, and then his lawyer says you are.
in context. Because if I just say yes or no, you won't understand it. And I really want this whole group to understand it. And I never would have guessed I was being conned. Never, ever. The deceit was so subtle. Yes, I know. Answer the question. Okay.
So you see the impatience of his lawyer next to him, right? So like we'll skip here and hold on.
I think you could supervise the work, overview it, which isn't the work that I do, and say you could do really thorough.
Notice his wrist too. If you notice his wrist, he's got a bracelet on that's a red thread. That is the red thread of Kabbalah. Okay, that red thread represents Kabbalism, and anybody that wears that is a Kabbalist. Okay, Kabbalism is ancient Luciferian witchcraft. Okay, from the Tower of Babylon, passed down to the Canaanites. Few Jews took it on, then passed it on. All right, to different ethnicities and walks of life all across the globe, and all the world religions actually got started through Kabbalah. And even high-level Luciferians and Satanists will say, like people like Albert Pike and Aleister Crowley say, that all world religions begin and end in the Kabbalah. So that red thread you see on his wrist is a symbol of that. Just giving you a breakdown of that.
Work if you were doing it 3 or 4 days a month, certainly a week or a day a month, just focusing on these things, because there were accountants and tax lawyers and other people. And then once in setting up, as an example, I didn't have the idea to inventory furniture or valuable.
So you kind of get that, but we'll get in here. Hold on. Trying to get to a certain point. You can look at the impatience on his lawyer's face. Now watch this. All right, watch this. Okay, watch his lawyer. Listen in really closely. Listen in really closely, okay? Get ready. Listen. He says, I will effing kill you. Just listen one more time. Get ready for it. He says, I will effing kill you if you don't answer any question after this with 5 words or less.
Answer the question. 5 words, okay. Answer the question. Okay.
That guy, that lawyer, I believe, was hired by high-level Illuminati, and he's there to keep Leslie Wexner from talking too much. So he, in all methods, is a handler, but don't take that as Leslie Wexner is innocent. That Leslie Wexner is a monster, and he deserves to get talked to like that. So I'm going to play that one more time so you can kind of see it here.
But then all the things were inventoried. That wasn't work for me or Jeffrey. It was just regularly done. Answer the question. 5 words, okay. Answer the question. Okay.
You see, because he's trying to keep him from talking too much. So they're all beginning to squirm. Yeah, Leslie Wexner. And this was the guy that basically Jeffrey Epstein got his fortune from and was working with in the beginning of things. We'll say, I know a lot about Jeffrey Epstein's life. I'll give you a brief synopsis in like a paragraph here. He was born to a Jewish family in the Bronx, New York. He grew up near the pier there. He was a musician growing up. He got a scholarship to the Interlochen School of Arts that I exposed in my documentary Interlocked. All right. I have documentation in my documentary that he lost his virginity at Interlochen. I don't know if it was to an adult teacher or what. Okay. But I do know that there was multiple pedophile groups operating in the area at that time. He could have been a victim himself and learned how to use the island because of the North Fox Island situation with Francis Sheldon. And Francis Sheldon had ties to Interlochen and very well could have been the one that got a hold of Jeffrey Epstein when he was young back in the 1960s, we'll say. All right. And then he got out of that. And then he went on a trip across Europe with his guy, Johnny Boy Kafka. All right. And then him and Johnny Boy Kafka flew back to Michigan, and he met this woman that he lost his virginity to, she was named the Interlochen Girl. All right. And then out of that, he met Leslie Wexner, and then he started to recruit for Leslie Wexner. He was the one that owns Bath and Body Works. Leslie Wexner was the one that owns Victoria's Secret and all that stuff. And so Jeffrey Epstein was learning what to do through Leslie Wexner. Okay. All right. So just giving you kind of a brief synopsis on how he got his funds and his money. And then also when Jeffrey Epstein started to donate to Interlochen, he crossed paths with Robert M. Bass, who had ties to the Rockefellers. and then they both became trustees of the Rockefeller University. Through Rockefeller University, he came to know the the Rothschilds family, and then he started to do financing for the Rothschilds family and a few other powerful families. And then so all of this stuff, okay, it all started to connect. And then this is how Jeffrey Epstein became one of the most powerful individuals in his day when it came to having all this sway with all these powerful people. All right, this is how it kind of incrementalized. Leslie Wexner was the portal for him to be able to do that. All right, so I wanted to put that out there. Now, with that being said, all right, I want to show you because Disneyland and Disney World is a place that Jeffrey Epstein chose to have ties, that he chose to send those who had ties to him on vacation there. So like all these victims that Jeffrey Epstein would have, there's a common factor in the Epstein files, and I've looked through it extensively. This is some of the research I've been doing, where he would always send his victims to have a vacation at Disneyland or Disney World. And if you know anything about Disney, the Disney movies, and I'm telling you, if you are a parent and you have a child, and if you are watching Disney movies, your child is being programmed, whether you want to believe me or not. All right. Freemasons and high-level occultists and people in the New World Order are using scientific methods to create these cartoons that program gematria, numerology, the occult, the esoteric agenda, things that you might not understand into your children, and they're also hypersexualizing your children. But I had come across this, and I wanted to show it because they talk about how there was cruises that went from Disney World to Epstein Island, and they went and they let people walk on Little St. James Island, which is Epstein Island. All right, but then also there is underground tunnels, okay, that are all over Walt Disney World and Disneyland, where they traffic children. There's a lot of pedophiles that they hire, not only for the workers at Disneyland, Disney World, okay, but they actually hire producers and celebrities and things like that are compromised, and they program kids with Disney movies at Disneyland, Disney World, and it's a very intense science. And I'm going to be going into that science in my newest documentary that I'm going to be coming out with. So I'm just giving you that little snippet here. All right. But I'm going to show you this man discovered a cave system that leads into Disney World from outside Disney. All right. Disneyland. Sorry. He discovered a cave system outside of Disneyland that leads into Disneyland, and it's a way that they can traffic kids in and out of that place with no one knowing. Watch this.
Secret cave that goes into Disneyland. Now, if this works and it actually does go into Disneyland, I have an annual pass. I'm not trying to steal admission. Here goes. It's kind of short.
So it's childlike.
I think I made it. I made it. I am in Disneyland. It works. The cave is real.
So, yeah, that's the way that they can traffic kids in and out of Disneyland without being detected. All right, but not only that, they have the underground tunnel systems as well that are like hugely like hollowed out. They're like there's vehicles running underneath Disneyland and Disney World and all that stuff. It's pretty mind-blowing. All right, now this is going to piss a lot of people off. It pissed me off, but you need to see it. If you were a parent that has a child in public schools, This video is for you, and I'm asking anybody that watches this video, all right, to share this section, all right, of the video. We're at like an hour and 16 minutes ish, okay, where I show this video. You need to get this part of this out to as many parents as possible, because these are the facts.
That I have here the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act. Is there a requirement for schools to notify parents of credible allegations of sexual molestation or abuse against children by teachers?
No. If a child is a third grader and they go to school and the school removes the teacher because they believe the teacher molested a little boy or a little girl, there is absolutely no legal requirement for schools to notify parents.
How can that be?
Well, I think we have to ask the California legislature and the other legislatures who have allowed this situation to occur. This is designed to conceal the level of abuse by school personnel from parents. Okay, I want to be clear about something. Most teachers are good people and there for the right reasons. In fact, in many of the cases, the reporters who finally stop it are other teachers. But what happens to them, in my experience, when they stand up and say, no, you're not doing this anymore, and reporting, frequently, not always, but frequently, they're retaliated against by the administration and the school district.
So, they don't have to report if there is a teacher or something like that that does something perverted at school. And I mean, like, I'm just talking about like my wife's school. There's a teacher that was viewing pornography while in class, while class was in session. He got up to go do something, forgot that he left it open. Someone walked behind his desk to throw something away. All right. And I'm telling you right now, they saw it and they reported it. He got fired. Then at the same school, there was a basketball coach that was sending and receiving nude pictures with a child at school. And then at my son's school, there was a janitor that was that got busted, and he never got arrested. He slept with a 16-year-old girl, and he never went to jail. And so there's a lot of different stuff happening. And I'll tell you, my son exposed a pedophile at school that was an older teenager that was asking younger girls for nudes online, and he exposed them publicly. And my son was the one that got kicked out of the school and not this boy, because the boy's mom was one of the teachers at the school. True story. True story. And so, you know, there's a lot of gnarly stuff going on, and parents aren't being notified about it. And only when it ends up in the news, is the public made aware of what's happening. I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff that's going on right now all over the world. And this is why they have to have World War III. This is why they have to have a coming alien deception, because they are going to try to distract. It's distraction after distraction after distraction. And I agree, Vlad Rack. I've talked about that publicly, dude. I've talked about that publicly. He says, I also believe the capstone of the pyramid are families nobody has ever nor heard of, while the Rothschilds and Rockefellers are just below them. Absolutely. That is exactly what I talk about. That is exactly what I've said. And there is people so high up, you aren't supposed to know their names. You aren't supposed to know their names. You know? And I also want to say real quick, Kimmy, because I was talking, I did see your comments, and my heart goes out to you for your loss. And I pray in Jesus' mighty name that the Lord comforts you in your time of need, sister. And I pray that the angels surround you, and the blood of Jesus Christ covers you, and the Holy Spirit covers you, sister. I just was in the middle of trying to get some information out. And then I also want to say that if people here could pray for Kimmy in her time of grief, that would sure mean a lot to me as well. But so it's insane what's going on. It's insane what's going on. and this is my buddy. This is probably one of my best friends in the world right here. And I forget what topic you're talking about, bro. If you could put it in the live chat, what topic you're talking about. Yeah, homeschooling's best, but I'll be honest with you. I had to send my kid to public schools. There's nothing I could do about it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that smart when it comes to math and things like that. My wife is. My wife's brilliant. I'm rather an idiot, believe it or not. I don't think too highly of myself. Oh yeah. My son Isaiah, yeah. So because Chris has been in my life, man. You've been in my life for what, 15 years, more than that even probably. And he remembers and that the school kicked him out instead of the kid getting kicked out because his mom was a teacher. They wanted to protect him. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot happening and it's happening fast. And I really, truly believe that a lot of distraction is getting ready to pop off. So I'm going to play a clip because I care about you. I want you to be safe. All right. And after I'm going to use this clip to take a bathroom break real quick. This is an important clip. Don't leave the live chat right now. Don't turn this off. You need to see this clip if you have not seen it, because this is going down all over the United States right now, all over the world. There's a new form of mugging that's taking place, and it's called jugging. All right. And you need to see it for yourself.
An alarming new crime trend from the state of Texas, which is now spreading really all across the southeast, and police say it can happen in just a few seconds.
Jugging rhymes with mugging. It spread from Texas to South Carolina. Some police in small towns there weren't even sure what the word meant until the crime started happening in their own districts.
Derived from the term mugging, but since a mug holds less, a jug is make a bigger score.
This video is of a gunpoint robbery in Sherman Oaks, California. The customer throws his bag of $10,000 cash and the thieves take off. It's called bank jugging. Thieves watch you taking out money from the bank, follow you, and rob you. It can happen quickly anywhere at any time. In Austin, Texas, police report more than 60 cases in the first half of the year. And in California, police have noticed an uptick over the past few months.
Police say you can see a driver who had recently gotten money out of a Chase bank and came to this convenience store on Telephone Road. In just seconds, the 4Runner pulls up, followed by a white Chrysler. And men from the vehicles, two break out the windows on both sides of the victim's vehicle before reaching in and taking off with the cash.
And leaving envelopes stuffed with cash, or even putting it in a glove compartment. Nothing safe.
The day before, Houston police say this man took money from inside a vehicle at a car wash. When confronted by that vehicle's owner, the suspect showed a weapon before getting away with money also recently withdrawn from a bank.
In North Dallas, he backed his car in, and then 3 armed men jump out of an SUV, run up, and start pointing their guns at him, even pounding on his window, demanding he give up the cash he has on him. In this case, their plan did not work because Mark kept his doors locked and managed to escape.
Investigators say 27-year-old Johnson and 31-year-old Davis Mitchell followed a bank customer who had just withdrawn $75,000. The constable talked with both victims today.
The wife is at home. She has a broken shoulder and some ribs. She has about a 6 to 8 week recovery process. They are very relieved to know that we got these individuals off the street.
About a week ago, this jugging incident took place. You can see the video. This man was followed back to his business and beaten and robbed in the middle of the afternoon.
Police say this is Farrell Dembry and 2 others committing a jugging at the Bank of America on Fallon Loop Road last month. A 4th suspect waited in the car. A repairman was working on the ATM at the time.
The suspects had, while he was working on the ATM, pulled up, forced him to the ground, told him to lay there, indicated that they had a weapon, said they would shoot him if he moved.
Dembry disabled a different ATM in St. Louis earlier in the day, triggering a call to the repairman.
So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you get the idea that it's usually when you leave a bank or something along those lines, or there's a huge withdrawal. I'm sure if people go to the casino or whatever, you're a target when you leave the casino. But I told people a long time ago that follow home robberies, where they follow you home, and rob you later on is going to be more commonplace. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm trying to warn you here, that eventually it's going to turn into groceries. If there's, famine in any way, shape, or form that continues to escalate, prices continue to rise on groceries. You see people walking out just stealing groceries now when they never used to steal groceries unless they were actually hungry and had no food. All right. I'm telling you right now, like it's going to be a thing. All right. It's going to be a thing because I mean, a load of groceries is, $1,000 nowadays. If you got a full cart of food, for a big family, they follow you home and rob you blind of your groceries and then your food, then your family ain't got food for the month. All right. So please be aware. And I share that, even though it's not really a conspiracy thing or, about the things that are coming. I think I care about people and I want them to be informed as to what's going on. All right. Now on a lighter note. All right. And I'm sure I'm going to upset a whole lot of people when I play this. All right. I'm sure I'm going to upset a whole lot of people when I play this, but this is absolutely funny to me. This blew my mind. I lost my mind when I saw this. Okay. And there's a song to it. So I don't know if YouTube's going to try to censor it or not, but I got to try. All right. It's 14 seconds long. This is one of the funniest things I have seen in a minute. All right. Here we go. Oh man, that cracks me up, dude. That cracks me up, dude. Oh my goodness, man. All right, and here's the thing. I'm not dogging on you if you're a flat earther, okay? I swear. It's just funny. I do not believe in flat earth myself, okay? But there's no harm, no foul, all right? No harm, no foul. I see all the time where flat earthers call globers retarded and stupid and all this stuff. So, you got to eat one if you're going to dish it out, okay? All right, so with that being said, all right, I want you to take her easy. I want you to go out and I want you to get some sun like this little guy here. Look at him just soaking up the sun, man. Just living life. All the world's collapsing around him. He don't give a crap. All right. He loves Jesus. He's just soaking it in, man. Go out there. All right. Have fun. All right. Don't be worried about the things that are going on in this earth, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, if this guy ain't worried, you don't need to be worried, man. All right. Just enjoy it. All right. May God bless every single one of you. May he keep you. And don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.